Stock's looking pretty good here. S&P 500 making all-time highs. Scott Bauer joining us, CEO Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, good to have you here. Episode 15 on Chicago Future of Finance is an all-time high in the S&P.
I mean, here we are. Yesterday we talked about, what would potentially happen with a shutdown, that it's typically not that big of a deal. But I would say the reaction we got today, being from the little bit of a sell-off we had overnight and then on the opening to where we are now, again, Oliver, we've talked about this market is just Teflon and it's grinding higher. And,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to get in the way. I mean, yesterday we talked a little bit about maybe something geopolitical or something, but obviously right now the shutdown is no big deal, at
Yeah.
least for the market. But, there definitely has to be some concern out there if this thing is protracted. If this thing lasts more than a couple of weeks, you will absolutely see it filtering into the economy and see some, data points probably get really hit from that.
We saw Kalshi earlier. It was, I think, a 31% chance of more than, like, I don't know what was it, 35 days or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a month or something. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, more than 15, 2 weeks. More than 15 days at 34%. I mean, that seems like a pretty real possibility, a third.
There's no question, and we talked about this as well, that this particular shutdown is different than the other ones that we have seen because of the great political divide that there is. That truly, it seems like neither side could care less about the other side, and it's really kind of disparaging, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. It really is. It's not good for America.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is why we're seeing such high probabilities of this thing extending on.
But for less than just a couple days, now part of like our just routine. So I guess that's where kind of if you start to try and make a trade on it, then it's got to be at least 10 days, basically a week or something. Like, I know it's kind of hard to gauge, but that's kind of the point. Basically, is a few days is now like part of
it. Really is. It really is, and the way that option premium is going right now, implied volatility, it is pretty cheap. It is really cheap across the board. So if you're looking for something to play a week or a couple weeks, maybe a month down the road, you can buy that particular position, whether it's a downside put spread, upside call spread, if you think things are going to, be okay. And you can get in pretty cheap right now. And what that also says is, with the VIX sitting at 16 right now, which it is, that's a 1% move in the S&P's daily. That's pretty much, about what we're seeing. A little less than that today, but we saw S&P's down, 30 plus overnight. Now they, went up 30, so that's almost 1%. But volatility is cheap. So, if you're a bull in the market and worried about a little hiccup, worried about a little pullback, buy some cheap protection.
I'm bull in the market, Scott. I'm going to pull up the risk radar. I've had the green on for stocks since the show started. Green for gold too. I've had Bitcoin yellow alongside the dollar and bonds. Nothing red. The yellow stuff, it looks like Bitcoin's trying to heat up a little bit. Maybe that one would be the next to go green here.
I mean, it's all bets are off at this point. Honestly, I'm not sure there's anybody that I know that I have met in my 35 years of doing this that could read the tea leaves right now and read any charts you want and say with any sort of certainty what the next move is going to be. The only thing I can look at and say, hey, the trend is still higher. That is. So on pullbacks, if you buy, you're doing well. At some point, that trend is going to break. But I think all bets are off for what might happen.
Yeah. It seems like if tech's breaking out the way it is, stocks are breaking out, you kind of just assume that the risk spectrum will follow. But that being said, economic data with employment Friday, Scott, give me a quick thought on what to look for, either dollar bonds or stocks. Do you think these numbers can shake anything up?
Well, I'll be honest, because I've been a little sidetracked today. Are we still getting the numbers on Friday morning, or did they say we're not going to get it?
I guess it depends when the government is functioning.
Exactly. So we may not get that number. And if we don't get that number, I think that just adds volatility to the marketplace, especially after what we saw from ADP this morning being a negative revision. I mean, that is pretty
Everybody's
awful
now
news.
going to think that it's a bad
So
number, right? People are going to think that this is a way to.
everybody is going to be expecting a bad number. There's no whenever that might be. But if we don't get it Friday, it extends into next week or whenever it might be. That's got to be some pent up energy in the market. That's got to be some pent up volatility here with the expectation of an outsized move.
All right. So far, the move is higher. Record
Yep.
67, 11, 20 at the close for the S&P 500.
Pretty unreal to really think about it. That we're literally almost 6 months to the day from Liberation Day, from where we were back then to where we are now.
I held up tariffs, the sign.
Yeah, nobody could have thought what was going on right now.
Yeah. All right, all-time high. Scott, thanks for being here for it. Appreciate your contribution here over these 15 episodes. Coach Bauer and the risk radar: green for stocks, a green for gold. We'll see if Bitcoin joins in after a nice run in this session.